sold by their own parents. Sinister trade uncovered. India Today special investigation. Operation Beti Bazaar at 8 p.m.
Two states, one story. Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. Both going to the elections with politicians making tall claims about what they intend to do with these states if they get elected. On the Newstrack tonight, we will reveal a gripping investigation that sheds light on a dark and disturbing reality hidden beneath the surface of our society. India Today's special investigation team exposes the sinister underbelly of child trafficking and child prostitution in the states of Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. Our investigative reporters Mohammad Hizbullah and Jai Kishan Sharma take you deep into the heart of this harrowing tale. Here is the first part of this India Today special investigation.
An epidemic concealed behind occasional headlines. But India Today's special investigation team reveals the sinister reality of child trafficking and child prostitution, hidden in plain sight. Following leads, our reporters ventured into the forgotten corners of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Our first stop, a village in Rajasthan's Bundi. Meet Lakhan, a middleman facilitating the trade of minor girls in Ramnagar. In a village gripped by relentless poverty, where innocence is traded for profit.
बहुत सारी लड़कियां हैं गांव में, कम से कम 50-60 लड़कियां हैं। लड़कियां दिखा दूंगा आपको, जो पसंद आएगा आपको ये पसंद है लड़की, तो उससे बातचीत कर लेंगे उसकी मम्मी पापा से। हाँ, ये सब कर सकते हैं।
अच्छा, वो कितने उम्र होता है?
उसकी होगा कम से कम 14 साल 15 साल। करवा दूंगा, आपकी बातचीत करवा दूंगा।
Lakhan offered to mediate deals involving minor girls in Ramnagar. Explaining that these transactions are disguised as formal contracts. Young lives commodified. Presented as singers and dancers for hotels and restaurants.
तो ये पेपर में क्या बनाओगे आप लोग? लिखत पढ़त में क्या लिखोगे?
लिखते हैं नाचने गाने के लिए।
अच्छा,
नाचने गाने के लिए भेजी है। अच्छा। बस ये लिखेगी होटल में नाचने गाने के लिए भेजी है।
अच्छा,
बाकी वो सारा काम करेगी। वो तो आड़ है अपनी, वो तो आड़ है। कोई रात दरबार पुलिस वाले देख लेने, वो तो आड़ है।
अच्छा,
उसमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं। कोई जबरदस्ती थोड़े भेज रहे अपने, उसके माँ बाप से रह लेंगे, उसके माँ बाप को पैसे देंगे, उसके बाद में कोई ऐसे अपने कोई दलाल थोड़े जो उसको भेज उचा के भेज देंगे। ऐसा
तो ये लिखत पढ़त कौन करेगा एग्रीमेंट? उसके माँ बाप करेंगे?
माँ बाप कर लेंगे।
माँ बाप
आप मिलेगी उसके बाद में बोला अंदर गड्ढे हैं, बुला लेंगे उसके बाद।
अभी कहाँ है?
अंदर गड्ढे लाके।
You have witnessed how minor girls in this Rajasthan village are traded under the cover of signed job contracts. Later in the day, Lakhan showed our reporters two potential victims. The minor girls currently in custody of her uncle named Jitendra. The uncle demanded 6 to 7 lakh for each of the underage teens, all bound by a 1-year contract.
क्या उम्र कितना है, कितने साल की हो, किसका?
16 साल का साल हो।
करवा लेना अदालत की सीढ़ी जी, कोई दिक्कत वाली बात नहीं इसमें। तो मेरे जरूरत पड़ गई सीढ़ी जी रख लो कि यार कि 1 साल पे रख लो कि क्या नाम से दे देना का 6-7 लाख रुपए दे दो।
उस वाला
सिस्टम।
अच्छा 1 साल का 6-7 लाख रुपया,
ये बात है सीढ़ी।
1 साल बाद वापस आ जाती है।
जैसे आपका टाइम पूरा हो गया,
हाँ।
लड़की घर पर पहुंचाने के बाद में फिर दूसरी लड़की खरीद ली आराम से। जैसे आपने बोल दिया कि भाई साहब लेके आओ, तो हम तो आपका विश्वास आ जाएगा 1 साल भर में। कोई दिक्कत वाली बात ही नहीं है शेर जी। आप बोलेंगे कि इतनी चाहिए तो उतनी भेज देंगे।
India recorded 59,544 minor girls missing in 2021. The total number of children, male, female and transgender, gone missing increased by 30.8% that year, up from 59,262 in 2020. A total of 2,189 cases of human trafficking registered in 2021, compared to 1,714 in 2020. Of the 6,533 victims, 2,877 were children, according to the official data.
तो आप हमें परमानेंट थोड़ी बेच रहे हो, ठीक है?
The darkness runs deeper. The web of exploitation stretches far and wide. At Adalwara village in Savai Madhopur, our reporters uncovered parents complicit in this sinister trade. Tano offered 2 of her daughters for sale, each for a price of 3 lakh rupees.
आपको ये प्रमाण नहीं देना, हमको अच्छा लगेगा तो आपके पास रखेंगे। मैं बोलता मुझे पैसे चाहिए। 2 बेटी मेरी, ये भी है, एक बम्बई भी रहती।
अच्छा 2 बेटी है, आपकी अपनी बेटी है, आपने खरीदा हुआ है?
नहीं खुद की है मेरी। ये नहीं, ये एक तो ये
कौन?
आई जा आंटी ने थोड़ा मकान करके आरसीसी डलवाऊंगी, इसके लिए भेज रही हूँ। नहीं तो कम मेरे क्या, हमारे यहाँ कमा लेते हैं।
अच्छा ये मकान बनवाना इसलिए दे रही है?
भेज रही हूँ मकान नहीं रहने के लिए। अभी तो 2 लड़कियों को भेज दूंगी, अगर पैसा देंगे तो 2 लड़की आएगी। वो दोनों किसी को भी लेगी, 2-3 लाख रुपये लेगी।
कितनी है?
नहीं
18-19 साल।
हाँ
18-19।
Our next destination is Jaisinghpura village in Rajasthan's Tonk district. Here this middle-aged man, Ravi, offered to sell his underage nieces for 1,70,000 rupees each.
बहन की लड़की है।
अच्छा बहन की लड़की, आप मामा हैं? अच्छा तो क्या उम्र है उनकी?
उनकी उम्र होगी 17-18 साल बस खींच कर। अब ये तो कम से कम में लेना 1,70,000 से कम ली जाएगी।
तो ये जो एक भी लड़की घर जो है उसका 1,70,000 रुपये हमको देना पड़ेगा
महीने का।
और एग्रीमेंट कितने साल का होगा?
आप बताओ एग्रीमेंट का, कोई मैं इतने साल रख सकता हूँ।
The predators preying on the most vulnerable. A heart-stopping journey into the world of trafficking. Stay tuned for more. A report by Mohammad Hizbullah and Jaikishan Sharma for India Today's Special Investigation Team.
Absolutely shocking and disgusting. Parents willing to sell their own daughters as young as 14-15 years of age for as little as 1,70,000 rupees because they want to do things like build houses. That's why they're willing to sell their daughters. They suggest that it's for a 1-year contract, knowing fully well that that is not true. Once those daughters are gone, they are gone, and the social stigma is such that those daughters aren't then coming back to those villages. That's not all. What you've seen so far is just part one of this eye-opening expose. One would have thought that this happened in the India of an era bygone, that this is happening as commonly as it seems to be. Caught on India Today's cameras is making me sick in my stomach. In the second part of our investigation into the chilling world of child trafficking, our journey takes us to the heartland of Madhya Pradesh, where we confront a stark reality that's hard to fathom. Watch this report by our investigative journalist Mohammad Hizbullah.
Our investigation takes us next to Madhya Pradesh. In Neemach district's Borkhedi village, we encountered this man, Vijay, a jobless villager exchanging his 16-year-old sister for 3 lakh a month. On paper, the deal will feature a fraudulent loan contract.
वो कितने साल की है?
16 साल।
16 साल की लड़की है।
भाई काम सब बढ़िया करेगी, व्यवस्थित नाटक वाटक काम में।
अच्छा।
चाहे आप 4 काम कराओ या 5 काम कराओ, नाइट नहीं रुकेगी बस। नाइट रुकेंगे, एक रात रुकेगी किसी के पास सिंगल आदमी।
तो क्या आप लिखत पढ़त करेंगे?
लिखत पढ़त तो होगी ना।
क्या होगी? किस
एग्रीमेंट होगा? स्टाम्प पे। हाँ।
तो स्टाम्प पे किसके नाम एग्रीमेंट बनेगा?
वो तो मेरे नाम पे होगा एग्रीमेंट।
आपके नाम होगा? उसमें लड़की का नाम होगा या नहीं होगा?
लड़की का नाम नहीं रहेगा उसमें।
तो उसमें
धनी अपन दोनों रहेंगे लेन देन में।
नहीं तो एग्रीमेंट पे कुछ तो लिखा होगा ना, किस लड़की के लिए कौन सा लड़की का एग्रीमेंट कर रहे हैं आप?
वैसा नहीं लिखाएगा।
हाँ।
तो जैसे उसमें उधार का सिस्टम रहेगा।
अच्छा।
हाँ, कि आपसे मैंने उधार लिए इतने महीने के लिए।
अच्छा।
1 महीने के लिए तो 1 महीने का एग्रीमेंट करेंगे।
अच्छा, 1 साल का उधार है तो 1 साल का।
1 साल का मतलब मेरे को 10,000 रुपये रोज की चाहिए, भले आप 4 काम कराओ दिन में या 1 रात रुकवाओ।
अच्छा।
मैं 6,000-7,000 रुपये यही कमा रहा हूँ।
हाँ।
घर बैठे।
हाँ। अच्छा।
देख लो।
तो आप ये कह रहे हो कि 3 लाख रुपया आपको चाहिए?
At Bartered village in Neemach, our reporter met this man, Bablu, with an underage girl. He introduced as his family member. Bablu offered minor girls like her on demand.
आपके घर की लड़की है या बाहर की लड़की?
अपनी यहीं की है, परिवार की सही।
सही परिवार की। तो किस एज की लड़की हो जाएगी? किस उम्र की हो जाएगी?
हो जाएगी 15 के लगभग।
15-16 साल की 14 साल की लड़की कितनी लड़की होगी?
4-5 मिल जाएगी। 4-5 मिल जाएगी।
अच्छा, ये लड़की कौन है जिससे आपने अभी मिलवाया?
ये अपने घर की फैमिली है, परिवार में।
परिवार में ही?
वो इसे बोल रहे हैं जैसे घर वालों से बात कर लेंगे तो आपको अभी नहीं, शाम तक या सुबह तक बता।
अच्छा।
At Piplia, Jodha village in Madhya Pradesh's Ratlam district, Kiran alias Neha offered her own niece for 2 lakh rupees a month.
जैसे ये लड़की है, ये कौन है?
मेरी सिस्टर की लड़की।
अपनी सिस्टर की?
मेरी खुद की सिस्टर की।
अच्छा। उस लड़की के माँ बाप को देना है या आपको देना है?
मेरे को।
मुझे कितना है? जिस लड़की को आपने दिखाया, आपकी अपनी बहन की बेटी है ना?
हाँ, अपनी सिस्टर।
तो इस लड़की का मुझे कितने देने पड़ेंगे?
महीने के 2 लाख रुपये।
2 लाख रुपये। लड़की के माँ बाप ने कोई ऑब्जेक्शन, कोई दिक्कत किया तो?
नहीं, कुछ भी नहीं।
अच्छा। यहाँ जो आप देंगे, एग्रीमेंट करेंगे, तो किस पे? स्टाम्प पेपर पे होता है या सादे कागज़ पे करते हैं आप?
स्टाम्प पे हो जाएगा, कोई दिक्कत नहीं।
स्टाम्प पे हो जाएगा ना?
A deeply unsettling world of child trafficking. A haunting reality that must be confronted head on. A report by Mohammad Hizbullah for India Today's Special Investigation Team.
To talk about this horrific, eye-opening investigation and most importantly, what needs to be done so that young girls as young as 14, 15 can't be sold in this fashion. Remember, elections around the corner in both Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. And while netas make tall promises about how they are working for the girl child, working for women, this is the harsh reality. And we've exposed this in two important states. To talk about this, I'm joined on this broadcast by Lalita Kumaramangalam. She's been chairperson of the National Commission for Women. Karuna Nandi joins us, well-known advocate in the Supreme Court. We've got Dr. Miran Chadda Borwankar. She's a well-known police officer. Jyoti Mathur joins us, Executive Director at Kailash Satyarthi's Children's Foundation. And Sujata Paul is with us, spokesperson of the Congress. I want to go across to Lalita Kumaramangalam, who's been chairperson of the National Commission for Women. If you were heading the NCW at this moment, ma'am, what action do you believe the NCW needs to take right now, right here, on the back of this India Today expose?
Well, if these girls are underage, the NCW has no legal right to intervene, but the least that they could do or should do, if they have seen, and I hope they are seeing this program, is to contact the NCPCR and ask them to, to bring into force the most stringent punishment that is available under the POCSO Act. This is utterly shameful. It's horrifying that in 2023 we have parents selling their daughters. It's unacceptable. In fact, I'm running out of words because I'm so shocked and so sad about the fact that we still have young girls who are being commodified. It's just a transaction for these people who are selling their daughters. And then we turn around and say these girls are whores and all the dirty words that we used about these poor things. I think I saw one of the girls in the visual where a young girl who's, drinking, and how to blame the child? She must be doing it just to get through the night or the day or whatever it is. It's terrible that women have absolutely no self-respect, obviously. Also that they're not educated, they have no choice. People like us talk about freedom and things like that. What freedom do these poor children have? It's not as if they asked to be born, and after being born the way they are treated, women become bitter, women become, everything that can go wrong goes wrong. And you're right, once they're sold, they're sold. They will never live a life of any sort of, forget about respectability, any sort of decency. They will always, almost the scourge will follow them for the rest of their lives. And how is it fair? Sometimes I think, that we all talk about God and good and dharma and, doing good in every religion. And what is happening? Is this what is supposed to be decent or good or dharma or not evil? I'm talking about any religion across the board governments. Why is there still so much poverty in places that children are being sold? I'm sure there are also boys being sold, but it's terrible.
The Constitution, Article 23 about trafficking in humans, forced labor being prohibited. Article 24, children under the age of 14 not working in hazardous employment. The Indian Penal Code, Section 347, 374, so many. The Immoral Traffic Prevention Act of 1956, the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act of 2012. The law are many, but it seems quite clearly that nobody seems to care. In this report, what shocks me is it's not as if some of these are orphans, and not that anything should happen to orphans, but that is a distant relative or somebody just taking care. Parents, mothers willing to sell their daughters because that lady tells us she has a house to build and that she's got 2 daughters, she'll sell them both if she can do it.
I think the ugliest part of these reports is that many of these stories are not born out of need, they're born out of greed. And that makes them over and above sort of any balancing sympathy factor that exists in a number of other trafficking cases where there is this desperate and huge need and there is absolutely no alternative. In terms of investigating and prosecuting trafficking crimes, there are these units, these anti-human trafficking units that Maharashtra and Odisha have funded to some extent. And Andhra Pradesh, the last I checked, has notified. But why are the other states not putting this on a very serious priority? And I really hope that your report prompts other states to do that. Unfortunately, the NCPCR and the NCW, while they can take up these cases and push and can keep, strongly pushing for systemic change, not just in terms of prioritizing investigation and prosecution, but also adequate investigation and prosecution of collusion by rogue police officers and other members of the state, which is why the acquittal rate is incredibly high in trafficking cases. It's about, I think it's about 89%, which means that you have these situations where there is a level of impunity, and that if that hafta is paid, that you can do these things, right? I think there are a number of other priorities that we must have as a polity, and the state governments need to take this up on a war footing, because in an environment where the inequalities have increased so much, so much so that the top 5% of us own 60% of the wealth, and that probably includes every one of us on this panel, right? That to have then support mechanisms where you have audited homes and shelter homes that aren't places that people just go to rot, right? That aren't based on court orders, that are voluntary and supported, and where there is proper information about compensation and real rehabilitation, not a little minor sewing program or a tailoring program or some loan for a sabzi cart, right? Which is not necessarily going to work for somebody who's going to be rehabilitated. An entire systemic approach, it's not rocket science. We all know what to do. When I joined the National Human Rights Commission in 2002 under Justice Verma as his officer on special duty, one of the things that I did was do a report on the Immoral Trafficking Prevention Act and its implementation in Delhi. And one of the things that we found was that the shelters that existed, even though the shelter was it was adjacent to Tihar, and it was kind of like Tihar, because women went in and
but there's a difference. If someone is at an orphanage or at a shelter home, if there is illegal trafficking, not that that is understandable, but that, these people are out to make money. What shocks me, Dr. Borwankar, the most is that these are mothers, fathers, close relatives willing to sell their daughters because they want to do things like build their own houses. Can this happen without the knowledge of the local police, or would they know that in places like Bandi, places like Ratlam, places like Neemach, Ramnagar, that these things are happening, that it can't happen without the local police not knowing anything about it, ma'am?
Okay, so I would say that when I was Joint CP Crime in Mumbai, nobody ever asked me about the missing girls, the girls being traded by their own parents, which was quite common in Mumbai. We used to find so many girls, especially we were targeting to rescue the minor girls. So in a way, I congratulate India today for bringing the stark reality on focus and educating our own audience, our own viewership, that this is what the reality is. As a young DCP, when I first raided Kamathipura, out of the 300 girls whom I tried to so-called rescue, only 9 were ready to come out, and they confronted me with statements like, "आप कहाँ थे जब हमें यहाँ बेचा गया? आप कहाँ थे जब हम इतने दिन से यहाँ पे धंधा कर रहे हैं forcefully?" So this from 1991 to 2023 has been the story. So I am not shocked. One. Number two, Mumbai High Court had passed a very good order saying that many a times when a man and a woman appear either before the shelter home or before the court as the parents of the girl. Actually, they are not. So I would request India Today, and I would also, I am 100% sure that police in Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan would register cases, and I do not agree that police is aware of it. I think we expect too much from police. I would in this and these cases expect panchayat, ASHA workers, school teachers, community leaders, and above all, parents to come forward and talk about how their child was missing. Now, last point which I want to make is that it is true that acquittal rate is very high. We definitely have to be more professional, but in these cases, the girls do not stand by prosecution in the court, especially when their own family members are involved. Their rehabilitation is very, very essential. And while congratulating Team India Today, I'm extremely upset that we have not been able to change the reality that, at least as a police officer, I am aware of.
Jyoti Mathur, at the Kailash Satyarthi Children's Foundation, do you buy the argument from Dr. Borwankar that the local police is unlikely to know? I don't buy that for the reason that if this is happening, there are pockets and belts, villages where these things happen. I find it very difficult to fathom that the local police in that area would not know.
So I would say I would not agree that the local police and the local authorities would be completely unaware of this happening, and which is happening in such openly with a written kind of an agreement between the families. I don't think so. That is really to believe. But I do agree with the fact that the people at the ground, like the panchayats and the child welfare committees that are there, supposedly there, or ASHA workers or Anganwadi workers, these women and these institutions would definitely be aware, because if the girls are missing, they have suddenly disappeared and gone and have not returned back. So this is a question which cannot be said that it is, they are not aware of that. So this I really don't think is
Sujata
really
Paul, you represent the Congress. The Congress runs the government in Rajasthan. As soon as this show gets over, what are you going to tell the Ashok Gehlot government and Mallikarjun Kharge ji? What do you think the government in Rajasthan needs to do?
Today, what you have shown us is really chilling, and I really don't know what to say when you hear about such stories, because these are not mere stories, this is reality. And the girl child being under attack in this manner, of course, we have our government in Rajasthan, and you'll see that the moment this program is aired, you will have statements coming out from the government of Rajasthan, and they'll take cognizance of it and get into action. Because if I remind you of what happened in November of 2022, there was one incident which was reported, after which it was said that there were many other cases of a similar kind where girls had disappeared. And immediately the government got into action, because the Rajasthan Commission for Protection of Child Rights has a method that it follows, that it immediately sets up a high-powered committee which works on the ground, gets a ground report, asks the police to give a factual report within 3 days, and then they start taking action. And I am certain that Mr. Ashok Gehlot is going to look into this matter, because this is of serious concern. And of course, our systems need to be strengthened, and the socio-economic factor which we are seeing today in these villages is also responsible for it. But if parents can show so much of apathy, then obviously there is something lacking with all of us. Its responsibility cannot be just given to the parents. If they are living in poverty, then we will take responsibility for that, because if we are in the government, we have to ensure that there is awareness, there is the fear of the law, and people should understand that the girl child needs to be protected. And I am sure that you are going to see action immediately.
Karuna Nandi, one of the arguments Dr. Borwankar made is that these cases don't stand in court, because even if the girl were produced during the prosecution, the girl is unlikely to speak up against her parents and family. Now that again is deeply sickening. Your family sold you for as little as 1,70,000 rupees, and when the case goes to court, the girl still can't speak out against her family. She still comes under social and familial pressure. You're on mute, Karuna.
I think there are two aspects here. The first is that don't blame the victim. That there's a reason when a young woman is failing to go through the criminal trial, let's look at the reasons for it, because people tend to be rational actors. For example, when we have a rape victim that is not willing to go through the process and who hasn't been trafficked, who has been raped in other circumstances, then it's usually because the criminal trial is too onerous or there are other circumstances making it too difficult for her to participate. So therefore, how can we support someone who has emerged from a history of trafficking, who is traumatized, who probably doesn't have anywhere to go? Either she will have the place into which she has been trafficked, or she will have her natal family. What really is the third option? Because at the moment, the options the state provides are worse, by far. So that's one set of realities. The second set of realities is what Dr. Borvankar said herself, which is the fact that very often the people posing as parents are not parents, right? They're actually traffickers. So therefore, would you go against the trafficker if there's a sort of Stockholm syndrome, this is the only person I can go to? Plus, there's the stick, there's the threat of bodily harm. If you go against somebody like that, they're hugely criminal people, right? Or connected to hugely criminal people. The third is that if the people who are the accused include the parents, and the parents are sympathetic to the child in some way, and the child doesn't want to proceed against the parents, then there's a way to support the child to give evidence against the others. Right? It's not an all or nothing situation.
No, but Dr. Borvankar, where does the fault lie? In the law or in the implementation of the law? Because, for example, if you read the Immoral Traffic Prevention Act 1956, Section 5 deals with procuring, inducing, taking person for the sake of prostitution without their consent of a jail term of 7 to 14 years. Section 6 deals with detaining a person in the premises where prostitution is carried out for 10 years. There are enough laws. I don't think the absence of laws or lack of laws is the problem. The problem just seems to be the implementation of these laws, Dr. Borvankar.
Absolutely, you are right. They are from the Constitution of India up to the POCSO Act of 2012. There are plenty of acts. It's the implementation, you are right. But then, see, think of it, when we rescue the girl, the NGOs and many institutes like TIS with Tata Institute of Social Sciences, with whom we used to work very closely in Mumbai, they have researched and concluded that for first 15 days, a rescued victim thinks of the rescuing authority, that is police, to be the enemy, and the gharwali or the people who sold her to be her friends. So it takes some time for us to breach that particular gap and to gain the confidence of the girl. The trial after registering the case and after our having gained the confidence of the girl would be after 3 to 4 years. And we lose the girls in between these 3 to 4 years, where when either the parents come and they cry and they ask for sympathy, or these so-called gharwalis and these pimps come. And because another thing I feel we can strengthen these cases because we don't appoint special prosecutors in these sensitive cases. So they get acquitted. IOs, investigating officers, are transferred. They are not traceable after 3-4 years. We trace the IOs, the case papers, and the stage itself. I feel if we have immediate trial in cases of human trafficking, and if we are careful in appointment of prosecutors and take help of NGOs, we would have much better conviction rate.
Lalita Kumaramangalam, respond to this suggestion that like when there is when there's a rape, in some cases you have day by day hearings, you have fast track trials. She's saying in the case of human trafficking, we should have the same. Is that feasible, or do you think if that happens in different kinds of cases, it overburdens an already overburdened legal system?
Rahul, I've been saying for many years that the legal system needs an overhaul. Our courts are overburdened. Our jails are filled with under trials who, have horrible lives, especially the women, but even the men there. And unfortunately, neither the NCW nor the NCPCR really have enough powers to be able to take matters into their own hands. It all ends up again in the justice system, which is overburdened, understaffed, and many parts of which are very, very corrupt. We really need reforms both in the police and in the justice system. As has been pointed out by Dr. Borvankar, by Karuna, by everybody, it's impossible that the local, whether it's the panchayat leaders or the councillors, or I don't know, I'm afraid it may even be sometimes the MPs, though they will be up in arms for having me say this so frankly. But certainly the ASHA workers and the local, the Anganwadi workers, who are the ones who go from home to home, can't be unaware of this. It's a huge nexus. And I don't think it's going to be, we are going to be able to really deal with it effectively unless we use both disincentives and incentives. Like when the central government or the state government considers a particular panchayat or a particular a constituency, saying that this is a constituency that needs special attention, they should also look at issues like child trafficking. All we do is we look at the number of industries, the income, and this sort of thing. We need to look at other issues, social issues like child trafficking. And child trafficking, as you have shown earlier on in your program, the data shows that it's just going up, not going down.
No, but that's the whole point, because there was a journalist of the Indian Express, Ashwini Sareen, in 1981, who bought a young girl, Kamla, in Dholpur, that was also in Rajasthan, and brought her to Delhi. That created a big shock. That was 40 years ago.
Yes.
And what is shocking, Jyoti Mathur, is that the same thing can happen today. That it was, Kamla in 1981. We haven't taken the names of any of these girls because that's not the right thing to do. But it could literally be Kamla 2023. It almost seems as if India, as far as selling girl children is concerned, hasn't changed, and it's the same neck of the woods here.
Yes, I completely agree. And in fact, I would say that there are many more Kamlas that you have said, and our experience shows that we have rescued girls from brothels, especially from Rajasthan and Bihar. And it has been a very difficult journey, to bring them back to a normal life that we all live, because they have been sold at a very young age, and the stigma that they carry, their family is unwilling to take them back, their relatives, the society is unwilling to take them back. So where do they go? So what are the options available for them, for these women who want to get out of this from these brothels and these commercial sexual exploitation? Then what are the options available for them? We have to look at those so that the girls can come out. And we also need to look at the awareness of the law among the parents. There's actually no fear in them. If you see, they know whatever they're doing, they feel that nothing will happen to them, and they treat their daughters as commodities and just sell them for something like making a home. Why? We need to find out the root cause of that. Why those families are doing that? Why is it that government schemes that are there for these vulnerable or poor families? Why are those schemes not reaching to such people? And the second thing that I want to say is the need for the comprehensive trafficking law, although we have a section in the IPC that deals with trafficking, but a comprehensive trafficking law is becoming more clear from this discussion. That is what is required, which has a timeline for trial, timeline for investigation, rehabilitation, services for such victims, and stringent punishment in such cases is something really.
Oh, absolutely, because politicians are going to town in this election season, making all kinds of promises, Ladli Bahina, transferring whether it's 1,200 rupees or 1,500 rupees to the bank accounts of women, talking about selling LPG cheap. Nothing can be worse than girl children being sold off right under the nose of our police agencies, under the nose of the state administration, and the timing is important. The fact that we've highlighted this issue, this needs to become one of the issues that is debated and discussed during the election campaign, because this is what citizens must seek accountability from. Transferring money, that's just a freebie, that's a revdi. These are real issues that real India is dealing with. This is what politicians must apply their minds on, and hopefully on the back of this big expose by the India Today group, attention will focus on this issue and some action will be taken, because we can't have a situation where what was happening in 1981 is getting repeated in the new Bharat of 2023. That's not going forward in time, that is staying where we were 40 years ago. Great travesty this. I look very carefully for reactions on this expose and see how our netas, our political class responds. We're slipping into a break right now. When we come back, explosive revelations by Nijjar. Sani claims Nijjar regularly met Canadian intelligence agencies. The question though is, why was Canadian intel meeting a Khalistani terrorist? Details on the other side.
You are watching India Today, powered by Finest, Be Sustainable Change, a BNP Group company.
ಅವ್ರ ಕಡೆ ಬರೆದಾರೆ, ಭಾರತಕ್ಕೆ ಉಪವಾಸ ಕುಂಡ್ರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಸ್ವಾತಂತ್ರ್ಯ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ, ಈ ಕಡೆ ಹೊಡೆದ್ರೆ ಈ ಕಡೆ ಹೊಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿಂದ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ, ನೇತಾಜಿ ಸುಭಾಷ್ ಚಂದ್ರ ಬೋಸರ ಭಯದಿಂದ ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷರು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಹೋದ್ರು. ನೇತಾಜಿ ಸುಭಾಷ್ ಚಂದ್ರ ಬೋಸರು 2ನೇ ಮಹಾಯುದ್ಧದ ನಂತರ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವತಂತ್ರ ಭಾರತದ ಮೊದಲ ಪ್ರಧಾನಮಂತ್ರಿ ಅವರು 4-5 ಭಾಗವನ್ನ ಸ್ವತಂತ್ರ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದು ಪ್ರಧಾನಮಂತ್ರಿ ಅದು ಘೋಷಣೆ ಆಯಿತು. ಅದರದೇ ಒಂದು ಕರೆನ್ಸಿ, ಅದರದೇ ಒಂದು ಧ್ವಜ, ಅದರದೇ ಒಂದು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಗೀತೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರಧಾನಮಂತ್ರಿ ಮೋದಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ನೆಹರು ಭಾರತದ ಮೊದಲ ಪ್ರಧಾನಮಂತ್ರಿ ಅಲ್ಲ, ನೇತಾಜಿ ಸುಭಾಷ್ ಚಂದ್ರ ಬೋಸ್ ದೇಶ ಪ್ರಧಾನಮಂತ್ರಿ.
Air quality today. In Delhi, 153. In Mumbai, 91. In Kolkata, 61. In Bangalore, 31. In Chennai, 66. In Hyderabad, 84.
In politics, everyone has an opinion. But I have the data. Whose stock is rising? Whose graph is falling? Track India's political stock exchange. Unmatched, unmissable data analytics. The only show on News TV where numbers do the talking. India's most credible poll tracker. The political stock exchange with Rahul Kanwal only on India Today. There's been a twist in the Hardeep Nijjar killing. His son has dropped a bombshell, claiming that his father was in touch with Canadian intelligence agencies days before he was shot outside a Gurdwara in Surrey. The big question though is, why were Canadian intel agencies in touch with someone they claim was a plumber?
A new twist to the diplomatic war between India and Canada over the killing of Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Hardeep Nijjar's son, Balraj, has made a sensational claim. Balraj Nijjar has said his father was regularly in contact with the Canadian intelligence agencies. Balraj, in an interview given to the Canadian media, revealed that Hardeep Singh Nijjar met senior officials of the Canadian intelligence establishment 2-3 days before he was killed on the 18th of June outside the Gurdwara in Surrey. Balraj also said that intelligence authorities had advised Nijjar to stay home. Balraj says he accompanied his father to these meetings. The new revelations come days after Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, in a statement in Parliament, pointed fingers at India over the murder.
Over the past number of weeks, Canadian security agencies have been actively pursuing credible allegations of a potential link between agents of the government of India and the killing of a Canadian citizen, Hardeep Singh Nijjar.
India has categorically rejected the Canadian allegation of involvement in Nijjar's murder as absurd and politically motivated, saying Canada had long provided shelter to Khalistani terrorists and extremists.
कुछ देश हमारी दी गई इंफॉर्मेशन पर बहुत तेजी से रिएक्ट करते रहे हैं, जबकि कनाडा के बारे में मैं अफसोस से कहता हूं कि हम लोगों ने बहुत इंफॉर्मेशन उनके साथ रेगुलरली शेयर की है, हमारे लेवल पर भी और भारत सरकार के लेवल पर भी। जहां तक पन्नू का सवाल है या निज्जर का सवाल है, इसके बारे में हम लोगों ने उनको कंक्रीट एविडेंस दिया है और वो स्वयं भी जानते हैं कि इन लोगों की किस तरह की गतिविधियां हैं, लेकिन अफसोस यही है कि वहां से जिस तरह की रिस्पांस मिलनी चाहिए कनाडा से, वो रिस्पांस नहीं मिली है।
Hardeep Singh Nijjar was originally from a village in Punjab's Jalandhar district. The 45-year-old went to Canada allegedly on forged documents, according to investigators. India has been demanding action against Khalistani terrorists, including Nijjar, who are operating from Canadian soil for several years now. It's extremely curious why Canada's intelligence agencies would meet a plumber so frequently unless there is more to it than meets the eye. Because do keep in mind, Indian intelligence agencies and the Ministry of External Affairs had regularly, not just once, but more than once, shared a dossier on Hardeep Singh Nijjar, who was a designated Khalistani terrorist in India. Khalistani terror, open threats to Canadian Hindus, targeted killings, gang wars, and now a diplomatic war with a friendly nation have put the Canadian government in a tough spot. Bureau Report, India Today.
This is where we wrap up the Newstrack tonight. For your time and your trust, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you 8 p.m. tomorrow evening. Till then, from all of us here, goodbye, good night.
You are watching India Today, Powered by Finest, Be Sustainable Change, a BNP Group company.
Amid the escalating India-Canada standoff, the National Investigation Agency has intensified its crackdown on Khalistani terrorists. The NIA on Wednesday raided 50 locations in Punjab, Rajasthan, Haryana, Uttarakhand, Delhi and Uttar Pradesh. During the raids, the NIA detained wanted Canada-based terrorist Arsh Dala's aide Jora from Firozpur in Punjab. Sources in the NIA have revealed how Khalistani gangsters based abroad are funding overground workers in India through Hawala channels to procure drugs and weapons. Information retrieved, Khalistani gangsters arrested under the UAPA so far has shown the nexus is involved in terrorist funding and arms supply from foreign soil.
Khalistani terror modules now under scanner of the NIA, and what we know is that this pertains to 6 states. The Khalistani extremist groups are already under pressure with properties being seized. Other properties of 19 terror groups have now been under process of identification, and there would be a lot of action which would be done on ground. But clearly at this point of time, a lot of action happening in Punjab.
The NIA's charge sheet accessed by India Today reveals how Khalistani terrorist Arsh Dala runs an extortion gang and supplies arms and drugs from Pakistan through drones. The charge sheet also claims Khalistanis are targeting Punjabi music and film industries and are demanding extortion money from producers and directors. The NIA court documents expose the alleged nexus between Khalistanis and Dawood Ibrahim. In the investigation, it has come to light that terror outfit Babbar Khalsa International has built up ties with Dawood and through him with banned terrorist organizations like the Lashkar-e-Taiba and Indian Mujahideen. With Kamaljeet Sandhu in Chandigarh and Shreya Chatterjee in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
You are watching India Today, powered by Finest, Be Sustainable Change, a BNP Group company.
I try to understand how different was it, let's say, to the traffic on Delhi-Noida border or Delhi-Gurgaon border. And it was definitely taking way more than usual. I try to understand it and take a look at this map. For example, if there was a distance from Yemalur to Bellandur, which is about 4 kilometers. 4 kilometers, that's not too much. It took 3 hours to cross that stretch for the residents. For example, let's take HSR to Bellandur again, though it connects the same route. 4.6 kilometers, 3 hours almost to be stuck in that traffic. And I'm talking not just about office goers. There were school children who left from schools and reached at about 8 p.m. to their residence. A 3 kilometer, almost 1.5 hours from the Alpine Eco Apartments to Ashray layout. So this about 3 kilometers took over 1 hour to even cover. 16 kilometers, which is a longer stretch, for example, from the Manyata Tech Park to Marathalli, took about almost 4.5–5 hours. Imagine being stuck in traffic for 4 hours. You could actually be in another city, another state also, but it took 5 hours even just in that.
अरविंद केजरीवाल जी ने जो कोविड के दौरान लोगों की नजरों से परे होकर जब दुनिया दवाई के लिए तरस रही थी, कोविड में मर रहे थे लोग, अरविंद केजरीवाल जी अपना शीश महल बना रहे थे, करोड़ों रुपए उसमें उजाड़ रहे थे और उसके अंदर करोड़ों रुपए अपनी जेब में डाल रहे थे। अब जब घपले करोगे, पैसे इकट्ठे करोगे, तो सीबीआई जांच करेगी। अब अरविंद केजरीवाल जी रोएंगे। क्यों रोएंगे? क्योंकि उनका एक ही मानना कि मैं पैसे जितने मर्जी खाऊं, मैं शराब घोटाले में पैसे खाऊं, मैं बस घोटाले में पैसा खाऊं, मैं क्लासरूम घोटाले में पैसा खाऊं, मैं बिजली घोटाले में पैसा खाऊं, लेकिन आप मेरे से सवाल नहीं पूछेंगे।
पूरी दिल्ली इंतजार कर रही थी कि शीश महल में जो 56 करोड़ रुपए खर्चा या बाकी और जो वहाँ पे वियतनाम से पत्थर मंगवाए गए, वहाँ हजारों रुपए के कमोड लगा गए, लाखों रुपए के पत्थर लगाए, पर्दे लगाए गए, उस सब के लिए दिल्ली की जनता इंतजार के इस पर जांच होनी चाहिए ताकि पता लगे इस भ्रष्टाचार के पीछे कौन कौन लोग हैं। मुख्यमंत्री हैं खुद, उनके मंत्री हैं पीडब्ल्यूडी के, जहाँ उनके जो बाकी अधिकारी हैं वो भी सबके सब उसमें इन्वॉल्व है। और ये मामला खुलकर आना चाहिए कि किस प्रकार अपने आप को कल तक के कह लें कि हम आम आदमी हैं, हम 4 कमरे के फ्लैट में रहेंगे, उसको बनाने के लिए किस प्रकार से जो आपकी प्रक्रिया है उसको आपने धत्ता बनाकर वह अपना महल बनाया। जल्द पूरी जांच का खुलासा होगा और जो लोग दोषी हैं उनको सजा होगी।
India's most wanted list for Canada. Arshdeep Singh, alias Arsh Dalla, accused of masterminding the murder of a local Congress leader in Punjab's Moga on Monday. A listed terrorist belonging to the outlawed Khalistan Tiger Force, carrying out his operations from Canada. Originally from Tarn Taran in Punjab, Lakhbir Singh linked to the ISI in Punjab. Named in last year's rocket attack on Mohali's intelligence building. Gangster Goldie Brar, alias Satwinder Singh, accused of orchestrating the murder of singer Sidhu Moosewala from his den in Canada. At least 12 men wanted in connection with serious crimes in India, terrorism included, have found a safe sanctuary in Canada. Many of them carrying out their nefarious activities in India remotely and with impunity. With Arvind Ojha, Bureau Report, India Today.
In politics, everyone has an opinion, but I have the data. Whose stock is rising? Whose graph is falling? Track India's political stock exchange. Unmatched, unmissable data analytics. The only show on News TV where numbers do the talking. India's most credible poll tracker. The Political Stock Exchange with Rahul Kanwal only on India Today.
So sorry.
You are watching India Today, powered by Finest, Be Sustainable Change, a BNP Group company.
Co-presented by Star Health Insurance, the health insurance specialist.
Co-presented by JK Tyre Ranger Series, stay wild at heart.
Co-presented by
हर घर का हीरो ग्रीन प्लाई का E0. Co-powered by PolicyBazaar.com, हर family होगी insured. Co-powered by the bold look of Kohler.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're with the news today. This is your primetime destination. News, newsmakers, talking points. Our big talking point, a sting operation that lifts the lid of human trafficking in women in both Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. Operation Beti Bazaar is coming up. The child trafficking network exposed is our top focus. Also, tonight we'll pay a special tribute to one of the greatest Indians who's passed away. The father of the Green Revolution, Dr. M.S. Swaminathan is no more. P. Sainath will be joining me to tell us just why he's a true builder of modern India. All that and more, but as always, first it's time for the 9 headlines at 9. India Today's sting operation uncovers a human trafficking racket across Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Minor girls offered to be sold off for 3 to 10 lakh rupees by their own parents and family. A day after a horrific video of a rape survivor surfaces in Madhya Pradesh's Ujjain, 3 accused, including the main accused auto driver Bharat Soni, are arrested. Police find bloodstains in the auto. Aam Aadmi Party and Congress lock horns in Punjab after a Congress leader Sukhpal Khera arrested as alleged accused in an old drugs case. Congress accuses Maan government of using enforcement for political gains. A day after the CBI ordered a preliminary probe into Delhi Chief Minister's house refurbish, Arvind Kejriwal challenges the BJP to show proof. BJP hits out, says AAP is drowning in corruption. Big question mark over the BJP's ethics in appointing its hate speech MP Ramesh Bidhuri as poll in charge in Rajasthan's Stoke. Danish Ali raises a red flag as BJP MPs send a complaint against him to a privilege committee. Amidst the Kaveri dispute, Karnataka Bandh once again called on Friday. Section 144 imposed all schools and colleges to shut in Bengaluru city. India make one big change in their World Cup squad. R. Ashwin included in the squad for an injured Akshar Patel. 6th gold for India at the Asian Games comes once again from shooters. 10-meter air pistol featuring Sarabjot Singh, Shiva Narwal and Arjun Singh Cheema. Medals tally stands at 25. And the father of India's Green Revolution is no more. Dr. M.S. Swaminathan dies at the age of 98. He was a part of the team who transformed India into a country self-reliant in food production. But tonight's top story is a gripping and eye-opening investigation that sheds light on a dark and disturbing reality hidden beneath the surface of all the slogans of Nari Shakti. India Today's special investigation team exposes tonight the sinister underbelly of child trafficking and child prostitution. Our investigative reporters Mohammad Hizbullah and Jaikishan Sharma traveled to 2 states, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, to take you deep into the heart of a harrowing tale that raises serious questions over the nature of women's safety in many parts of the country. Take a look.
An epidemic concealed behind occasional headlines. But India Today's special investigation team reveals the sinister reality of child trafficking and child prostitution, hidden in plain sight. Following leads, our reporters ventured into the forgotten corners of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Our first stop, a village in Rajasthan's Bundi. Meet Lakhan, a middleman facilitating the trade of minor girls in Ramnagar. In a village gripped by relentless poverty, where innocence is traded for profit.
बहुत सारी लड़कियां हैं गांव में, कम से कम 50-60 लड़कियां। लड़कियां दिखा दूंगा आपको, जो पसंद आएगा। आपको ये पसंद है लड़की, तो उससे बातचीत कर लेंगे उसकी मम्मी पापा से। हाँ, ये सब कर सकते हैं।
अच्छा, वो कितने उम्र होता है
उसकी? होगा कम से कम 14 साल 15 साल। करवा दूंगा, आपकी बातचीत करवा दूंगा।
Lakhan offered to mediate deals involving minor girls in Ramnagar. Explaining that these transactions are disguised as formal contracts. Young lives commodified. Presented as singers and dancers for hotels and restaurants.
तो ये पेपर में क्या बनाओगे आप लोग? लिखत पढ़त में क्या लिखोगे?
लिखते हैं नाचने गाने के लिए।
अच्छा,
नाचने गाने के लिए भेजिए। अच्छा। बस ये लिखेगी होटल में नाचने गाने के लिए भेजिए।
अच्छा,
बाकी वो सारा काम करेगी। वो तो आर्ट है अपनी, वो तो आर्ट है। कोई रात दरबार पुलिस वाले देख लेने, वो तो आर्ट है।
अच्छा,
उसमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं। कोई जबरदस्ती थोड़े भेज रहे अपने, उसके माँ बाप से रह लेंगे, उसके माँ बाप को पैसे देंगे, उसके बाद में कोई ऐसे अपने कोई दलाल थोड़े जो उसको भेज उठा के भेज देंगे। ऐसा
तो ये लिखत पढ़त कौन करेगा एग्रीमेंट? उसकी माँ बाप करेंगे?
माँ बाप कर लेंगे।
माँ बाप
आपको मिलेगी उसके बाद में बोला अंदर गड्ढे हैं, बुला लेंगे उसके बाद।
अभी कहाँ है?
अंदर गड्ढे ला के।
You have witnessed how minor girls in this Rajasthan village are traded under the cover of signed job contracts. Later in the day, Lakhan showed our reporters two potential victims. The minor girls currently in custody of her uncle named Jitendra. The uncle demanded 6 to 7 lakh for each of the underage teens, all bound by a 1-year contract.
क्या उम्र कितना है? कितने साल की हो? किसका?
16 साल का साल हो।
करवा लेना अदालत की सीढ़ी दी, कोई दिक्कत वाली बात नहीं इसमें। तो मेरे जरूरत पड़ गई सीढ़ी रख लो कि यार कहे 1 साल तो रख लो कि क्या नाम से दे देना का 6-7 लाख रुपए दे दे।
उस वाला सिस्टम।
अच्छा, 1 साल का 6-7 लाख रुपया?
ये बात है सीढ़ी।
1 साल बाद वापस आ जाती है?
आ जाती है। जैसे आपका टाइम पूरा हो गया, लड़की घर पर पहुँचाने के बाद में फिर दूसरी लड़की खरीद लेगी आराम से। जैसे आपने बोल दिया कि भाई साहब लेके आओ, तो हम तो आपका विश्वास आ जाएगा 1 साल भर में। कोई दिक्कत वाली बात ही नहीं है शेर जी। आप बोलेंगे कि इतनी चाहिए तो उतनी भेज देंगे।
तो आप हमें परमानेंट थोड़ी बेच रहे हो, ठीक है?
The darkness runs deeper. The web of exploitation stretches far and wide. At Adalwara village in Savai Madhopur, our reporters uncovered parents complicit in this sinister trade. Tano offered 2 of her daughters for sale, each for a price of 3 lakh rupees.
आपको ये प्रमाण नहीं देना, हमको अच्छा लगेगा तो आपके पास रखेंगे। मुझे तो पैसे चाहिए। 2 बेटी मेरी, ये भी है, एक बम्बई भी रहती है।
अच्छा, 2 बेटी है? आपकी अपनी बेटी है, आपने खरीदा हुआ है?
नहीं, खुद की है मेरी। ये नहीं, ये एक तो
कौन?
आई जा आंटी ने थोड़ा मकान करके RCC डलवाऊंगी, इसके लिए भेज रही हूँ। नहीं तो कम मेरे क्या, हमारे हमारे यहाँ कमा लेते हैं।
अच्छा, ये मकान बनवाना इसलिए दे रही है?
भेज रही हूँ मकान नहीं रहने के लिए। अभी तो 2 लड़कियों को भेज दूंगी, अगर पैसा देंगे तो 2 लड़की आएगी। वो दोनों किसी को भी लेके जाओ 3 लाख रुपये लेंगे।
कितनी है?
नहीं,
18-19 साल। हाँ, कितना है?
18-19।
Our investigation takes us next to Madhya Pradesh. In Neemach district's Borkhedi village, we encountered this man, Vijay, a jobless villager exchanging his 16-year-old sister for 3 lakh a month. On paper, the deal will feature a fraudulent loan contract.
वो कितने साल की है?
16 साल।
इसे 16 साल की लड़की है।
भाई काम सब बढ़िया करेगी, व्यवस्थित नाटक वाटक काम में। अच्छा। चाहे आप 4 काम कराओ या 5 काम कराओ, नाइट नहीं रुकेगी। नाइट रुकेंगे 1 रात रुकेगी किसी के पास सिंगल आदमी।
तो क्या आप लिखत पढ़त करेंगे?
लिखत पढ़त तो होगी ना।
क्या होगी? किस पे
एग्रीमेंट होगा? स्टाम्प पे। हाँ,
तो स्टाम्प पे किसके नाम एग्रीमेंट बनेगा?
वो तो मेरे नाम पे होगा एग्रीमेंट।
आपके नाम होगा? उसमें लड़की का नाम होगा या नहीं होगा?
लड़की का नाम नहीं रहेगा उसमें।
तो उसमें
धनी अपन दोनों रहेंगे लेन देन में।
नहीं तो एग्रीमेंट पे कुछ तो लिखा होगा ना, किस लड़की के लिए कौन सा लड़की का एग्रीमेंट कर रहे हैं आप?
वैसा नहीं लिखाएगा।
हाँ,
तो जैसे उसमें उधार का सिस्टम रहेगा।
अच्छा।
हाँ, कि आपसे मैंने उधार लिए इतने महीने के लिए।
अच्छा।
1 महीने के लिए तो 1 महीने का एग्रीमेंट करेंगे।
अच्छा, 1 साल का उधार है तो 1 साल का।
1 साल का मतलब मेरे को 10,000 रुपये रोज की चाहिए, भले आप 4 काम कराओ दिन में या 1 रात रुकवाओ।
अच्छा।
मैं 6,000-7,000 रुपये यही कमा रहा हूँ।
हाँ,
घर बैठे।
हाँ, अच्छा। तो आप ये कह रहे हो कि 3 लाख रुपया आपको चाहिए?
At Piplia, Jodha village in Madhya Pradesh's Ratlam district, Kiran alias Neha offered her own niece for 2 lakh rupees a month.
जैसे ये लड़की है, ये कौन है?
मेरी सिस्टर की लड़की।
अपनी सिस्टर की?
नहीं, खुद की सिस्टर की।
अच्छा, उस लड़की के माँ बाप को देना है या आपको देना है?
मेरे को।
मुझे कितना है? जिस लड़की को आपने दिखाया है, आपकी अपनी बहन की बेटी है ना?
हाँ, अपनी सिस्टर।
तो इस लड़की का मुझे कितने देने पड़ेंगे?
महीने के 2 लाख रुपये।
2 लाख रुपये। लड़की के माँ बाप ने कोई ऑब्जेक्शन, कोई दिक्कत किया तो?
नहीं, कुछ भी नहीं।
अच्छा, यहाँ जो आप देंगे एग्रीमेंट करेंगे तो किस पे? स्टाम्प पेपर पे होता है या सादे कागज़ पे करते हैं आप?
स्टाम्प पे हो जाएगा, कोई दिक्कत नहीं।
स्टाम्प पे हो जाएगा ना?
A deeply unsettling world of child trafficking. A haunting reality that must be confronted head on. A report by Mohammed Hizbullah for India Today's Special Investigation Team.
Shocking, shameful, but some would say not surprising. This is the grim reality, my friends, in some parts of the country. It's a reality that flies in the face of all the political slogans that different parties make about women's empowerment and Nari Shakti. And the fact is, it also comes against the backdrop of horrific rape cases that we've seen in recent months. It was on Wednesday, remember, when a horrific video surfaced of a 12-year-old minor girl who walked semi-naked and bleeding on the streets of Madhya Pradesh's Ujjain. The main accused, an auto driver named Bharat Soni, has been arrested along with 3 others. Take a look at tonight's other report.
A 12-year-old child, semi-naked, partly covered with a small piece of cloth stained with blood, walking the streets of Ujjain on Monday, knocking on doors, begging for help. Her pleas go unheeded as many shoo her away. She finally got help from Rahul Sharma, a young priest at the Dandi Gurukul Ashram, situated approximately 15 kilometers from Ujjain city.
मैं कुछ न ध्यान देते हुए तुरंत ही पहले मैंने अपना ऊपरी वस्त्र उस बालिका को दिया। मैंने आश्रम के विद्यार्थी से कहा कि बालिका के स्वल्पाहार की कोई व्यवस्था की जाए। तुरंत ही जो आश्रम में बना था वह स्वल्पाहार उस बालिका को नैवेद्य के लिए, उसको खाने के लिए हम लोगों ने दिया।
The priest called the police and took the girl to a hospital where tests confirmed she was raped. The rape survivor's condition is serious. She was shifted to Indore on Tuesday for further medical treatment. 3 accused have been arrested for the ghastly crime. One of the accused is an auto driver. The police found blood stains from the auto and the vehicle has been sent for forensic examination.
जिसके ऑटो में खून के धब्बे मिले थे उसके ऊपर नॉन रिपोर्टिंग के लिए एफआईआर दर्ज की गई है। जो हमारा आरोपी है वो अलग है।
Victim's family, who live in Satna, say she had gone to Ujjain for an examination. A union minister has vowed to take the strictest action against those who put the minor through this unthinkable ordeal.
12 साल की बच्ची के साथ रेप की घटना हुई सर, क्या कुछ कहेंगे?
और कानूनी कार्रवाई हो रही है।
State Congress Chief Kamal Nath has demanded that the victim be given financial assistance of 1 crore rupees. With Hemendra Sharma in Ujjain, Madhya Pradesh, Bureau Report, India Today.
So let's raise those questions tonight. Nari Shakti, is it simply a slogan that political parties give at election time? Are we reaching a situation where there are still parts of this country that remain completely out of the concept of Amrit Kal and India shining and so much more that all our netas often talk about? Joining me now, Ranjana Kumari is Director of the Center for Social Research, Flavia Agnes, lawyer for women's rights and someone who's for years campaigned on gender issues. Kavita Krishnan is also women's rights activist. I want to get their views because I thought it's necessary to somehow or the other get that anger across when you see these stories playing out. To you first, Ranjana Kumari, do you want to respond to what you've just seen?
Well, Rajdeep, there cannot be worse than what happened with Ujjain girl, a child who's being brutalized and, she's seeking help from door to door. An insensitive society like ours, nobody comes forward to help. And then I had raised this issue already that this child must have been trafficked. Somebody must have brought her from her village to where she was multiple times raped, and then left to fend for herself. And so I feel that, trafficking is a very serious issue and we all know about it. For years and years, we know Human Rights Commission came up with a report long time back. In fact, there were so many recommendations. We used to meet regularly by Central Ministry where we used to review what is going on with child trafficking. But, the reasons, and after COVID, nobody has paid attention to it, that the girls who have been withdrawn from the school, who are not going to school, who have gone back with their parents to their village, what happened to them, and that's what is happening to them. Because of extreme poverty, these girls have been now brought back by, they are saying parents, but this is the condition of the family that they have been brought back into the and traffickers are not being really nabbed by the police. Law has not been effectively implemented. Less said is better about this whole issue because nobody, no government, whether it's in Madhya Pradesh, whether it's Rajasthan, Jharkhand, even Odisha, all these governments, everybody knows that from these interior areas, the children are being brought, the girl children, for the brothels, for these dance parlor. I just recently heard that Odisha has reopened the dance parlors. So I think this is what is the kind of situation the girl children have been pushed into, and no government. I will not really go for any kind of political statement here because no government so far has really paid any attention to children being sold and exploited and girl children being brought to the brothels of this country and also for organ trading. Now it's not only just brothels and sexual exploitation and abuse, but also for all forms of organ trading that these children have been sold for.
We want to make it clear, there's a Congress government in Rajasthan and there's a BJP government in Madhya Pradesh. And these two states in the heart of India are the worst at the moment when it comes to crimes against women. So this isn't about BJP versus Congress. It's about completely the manner in which society, and dare I say at times a failed law enforcement machinery, has not been able to create an environment where women are made to feel safe and secure. Kavita Krishnan, your first reactions to that human trafficking story and the horrific story that we've reported also from Ujjain over the last couple of days.
Yes, Rajdeep. As you said, it's absolutely terrible and yet unsurprising. There has been, and I would like to flag here that child sexual trafficking affects not only girl children but also boys. It has been documented in the past as well that around tourist centers there is child trafficking, both of boys and of girls. And this has been documented for a long time. But as your reporter just said, that the issue is about confronting it head on. And I feel that as a society and our political leadership, the tendency is to say, Mera Bharat Mahan. And so we can't confront this. The point is
now,
that
who is to confront it? Sorry to intervene. Who is to confront it? You saw what happened in Ujjain. Here is a poor semi-naked girl moving from, seeking help. Nobody wakes up. How long are we just going to blame? It's not just the leadership, it's civil society also.
I said society and the state. I didn't say only the government. I said society and the state. The tendency is to say that our society, our country is above question. So everything is good and there are some bad people somewhere who do something. The fact that the society is complicit in this, as you said, that it really, our society sees women as commodities, as property, which even parents can simply trade in, you see. So if one sees it, if one understands this, if one confronts this as a society, as a state, I think that a difference can be made. Unfortunately, that is precisely something that we shy away from, we tend to look away from, and we tend to take offense when someone says, and I say this as a women's rights activist, that when you actually work in communities, the first reaction, it is extremely hard to work in communities because the minute you start flagging the fact that that community, that society, whichever mohalla it is or village it is, that is where in those homes girls and women are being mistreated, there is immediately a reaction. How dare you accuse our village, our mohalla? And that goes across communities, you see. So I think that why I speak about social as well as political leadership is that I feel they can make a difference. For instance, you spoke about the ashram man who offered help. Why is it that our, for instance, leadership of any social institutions, bodies, all of that, as well as political bodies, if they were to say that we are not saying we must respect our women, rather we should confront that we do not respect our girls, our women, we do not respect them as separate individuals deserving of the same dignity and respect as human beings. And that would mean their autonomy, their decision-making capacity, their right to education, their right to have a job, all of that. It's part of a whole. So I feel that responsibility shouldn't be left to women's rights groups.
There is a legal issue as well, Dr. Flavia Agnes, because the fact is that human trafficking has existed. These stories have, this is one of those worst kept secrets. It's known, it's only been flagged up. This investigation brings it out into the open because you're shocked by the openness and candor where even parents are talking about selling off their children. Is there a legal way in which you can send some kind of a deterrent? Do you believe that the law itself does not offer that deterrent?
Yes, I think so. I think it's a total failure of law and order. It's the way the police have lapsed in their duty. They're supposed to be acting there. It's not the responsibility of women's rights activists. It's not a responsibility of local NGOs. It is a state responsibility. And you can see clearly, if it is so widespread, whether it is Madhya Pradesh or whether it is Rajasthan or whichever state it is, the extent of which the law is flouted, I feel it is a state responsibility totally. It is not a question of somebody vigilant or somebody...
You're saying the state simply does not enforce the law, or and as a result of which people feel no sense of fear that if they were to engage in human trafficking, they would not be prosecuted?
There are two things here. One is the way the state functions or state lapses. And second is patriarchy. How the family itself colludes with this and sells off their daughters. And that's what is horrific in this. That you...
But obviously they do it, ma'am, because they have no fear of the police.
Exactly. And there is acute poverty. This goes alongside that when there's so much of poverty, the parents don't think much of selling their daughters. And they sell the daughters and there's no fear of the police. The police look the other way and this thing goes on. And it's horrific that a rape victim has to go door to door asking for help. And such a thing cannot happen or should not be allowed to happen. And I feel that we have so much reform in rape laws, so many civil society organizations working there. And yet this happens, and that is the most disturbing part of this.
You know,
and when you said Nari Shakti, I agree that, yes, it is a slogan. You see it as a forward, etc., etc. But when this is the ground reality, and you don't address economic issues, you don't address state failures, and then you bring out a law in parliament, saying Nari Shakti, that is a mockery of the whole situation. This is what I feel.
You know, given that, Ranjana Kumari, we saw the manner in which, you know, in the last few days, celebrations of a women's reservation bill being passed, 33% reservation. It is an important bill, no doubt about it. But the recognition that women's empowerment cannot simply be done through legislation in parliament. It requires multiple organizations at multiple levels to be committed to it. We had, after the Nirbhaya rape, a Nirbhaya fund that was set up. But in many states, even the monies of that fund have not been fully used. So you ask yourself that somewhere down the line, we will show this story today, come tomorrow, it will be forgotten. And once again, until the next heinous such crime happens, we will find that the system doesn't respond. Are we celebrating prematurely the belief that we have arrived in a way with true gender equality?
Well, Rajdeep, there are two issues that you're raising here. One, of course, is getting women more space political arena, and that's been 75 years of the independence, and women have not been allowed to enter that space in the way naturally a democracy should have brought about the situation where women will participate. So I think Women Reservation Bill is a huge step. Let me not undermine that. And I think this is no other government could do it. And if this government has done it, certainly it is a huge space. And I'm sure women's leadership coming forward in a critical number is going to make a lot of things change. Because, you know, can you imagine a parliament which is till date not discussed a report on trafficking situation in the country? You are raising this issue. But, you know, not even once that there has been a proper report presented to the parliamentarians, and no parliamentarian is asking that question. What is going on? Why 12-year? No politician speaks when 12-year-old runs around for some kind of a help and support when she is bleeding on the streets of Indore. Nobody wants to come forward and help. So on the one side, there is a kind of insensitive, decaying, you know, values and systems in the society where they blame the victim. If something has happened to the women, it is they who are responsible. And that is why they don't react. They don't come forward to help. On the other side, when the political space gets crowded and controlled, totally under patriarchal political parties, then, you know, women are not able to raise any voice there also. So how do women live in this country? What should we do? So I think Women Reservation Bill is a huge step. Let me not really, and I know my whole life struggle. I cannot in no way,
I'm not minimizing it. I'm not minimizing it. I'm saying there are other real issues also out there that need to be addressed and also need to be prioritized, is all I was saying. Kavita Krishnan, you want to respond? You want to respond that there is a sense?
Yes,
there's a sense that some of the noise that we make, the slogans that we have, as Flavia Agnes was also putting out, do not reflect the ground reality.
I think it goes further than that. See, the point is that how will change come? Change comes by, by persuading communities to look within, to recognize, for the country to look within and recognize that the problem does lie in our society. And then change can happen. And about the political sloganeering, I think the problem is, if it were aspirational, that's okay. But the point, I think, is, and it is, I mean, here I would have to say that your most popular leaders, this is a government that, you know, at the center, of course, the state governments, they are absolutely responsible for the police complicity, which Flavia correctly flagged. But I do also want to talk about the social change aspect and the difference it makes, the harm it does, when you have a home minister who says, look, human rights and all, we have our own civilizational human rights because our families are wonderful, our families just take care of women. But they don't, right? The point is they should, but they don't. So in order to say you should, you first have to acknowledge that they don't. At the same time, you have, for instance, the RSS chief saying rapes happen in India, not in Bharat. The point is this whole idea that you have to attach it to morality, you have to attach violence against women, as Ranjana said, to how women are behaving. Are they westernized and Indian, or are they Bharatiya culture? So, the point is, whether it's Bharat or India, we are a deeply patriarchal, and not just patriarchal. We are a cruel society. We are a society which does indulge in deep cruelty. Of course, there's a lot of humanity as well. Point is, how do we encourage humanity and decency and equality and discourage the other?
Let's be fair. There is change which is positive. This is the glass that we are seeing which reflects the darker reality. There are lots of examples in this country also of remarkable change taking place.
No, the point is that change, I'm not saying change doesn't take place. Change takes place when women fight, when women resist. Okay, no doubt. But the point is that's great. But my point is that those who are responsible for change, even the women's reservation bill that you're saying, women's reservation is important, as you said. We've been demanding it for 3 decades. The point is, even now, we do not have it, you see. It is a post-dated
I need to
check.
stop you
I need
to stop you for a moment because I have the Rajasthan police who is joining me in a moment. I appreciate y'all joining us. At the end of the day, the police has much to answer for in that Beti Bazaar story that we put out. Dinesh MN is ADGP Crime Rajasthan. Listen into him.
It's a very horrendous social crime which is happening, and it's in the knowledge of Rajasthan police also. Even in earlier years, we have taken action. In Bhilwada, Operation Gudia was launched, in which 24 people were arrested. And even in the very village that you have shown, Jaisinghpura and Tonk, we have arrested certain people and rescued certain girls about 2 years ago. So our anti-human trafficking cell and all the police stations and even our own crime branch and CCR branch, that is Civil Rights Branch.
More breaking news coming in where India Today's Anisha Mathur is now at the Nijjar kill site. Remember, this is the epicenter of the India-Canada storm, and she's the first Indian journalist to reach Surrey, where posters threatening India's diplomats have now come up. And this at a time when the Canadian government has been claiming that they are bringing down all these posters, any provocative posters that come up. Anisha joins us. Anisha, give us a quick update of what you see around you.
Well, Rajdeep, good morning from Surrey. It's 9 a.m. here, and I went to the Guru Nanak Sikh temple in Surrey at 7:30 a.m. And I'm back to my hotel now. But what I am seeing, I took a walk around the Dashmesh Gurdwara as well last night, which is also said to be a place where the Khalistani supporters hold sway. At the Dashmesh Gurdwara as well as at the Surrey Guru Nanak Sikh temple, I saw posters not only of Khalistan, not only of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, but also a giant poster calling for assassination of the Indian diplomats, which, by the way, is exactly the poster which was much publicized just a month or two ago when Canadian and Canadian Punjabi media had reported that the Canadian authorities had issued notices to the Gurdwaras asking them to take down these posters. And if you look at the visuals I've sent from my walk around the Gurdwara this morning, on one side of the gate there is a framework where the poster used to be, which was in a very much publicized manner by the Canadian Punjabi media, which was removed. But on the very other side of the gate of the main Gurdwara, a giant poster calling for the assassination of Indian diplomats is still there. In fact, now it also has a photo of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, and there are posters everywhere in that particular area.
Did you ask anyone? Did you ask
investigation against India?
Did you ask very quickly any of the locals there as to why had anybody tried to bring down these posters? Any attempt made to bring down these posters by the officials there?
Well, Rajdeep, I am trying to speak to the Gurdwara, the people affiliated to the Gurdwara and people affiliated, other people right now. But as I said, it's 9 a.m. here and I'm still trying to get in touch with people. The people on the ground I spoke to, cab drivers, journalists, etc., they are saying that there were objections raised to those posters. In fact, a complaint had been given by an organization here, which is the Association of Progressive Organizations, which is also something that has been working in the community, in the Indian community. They had also given a complaint a couple of months ago when the referendum calls had been made when these posters had gone up.
Right.
But which is why what I'm saying, after those complaints, in a much publicized move, one of the posters was taken down. But what we are seeing really is that poster goes down from one side, the framework is still there, but on the very other side, the giant posters are still there. So question needs to be asked, is this an eyewash? What exactly is happening? Because most people here are simply worried about coming on camera and telling us anything on record. Back to you.
And Anisha Mathur joining us there from Surrey with the very latest, those posters still in a sense, a reflection of the fact that the problem still exists on the ground. Let's turn to another problem that still exists on the ground. It's a week exactly since the hate speech by BJP MP Ramesh Bidhuri. The BJP had claimed that issued a show cause notice to Mr. Bidhuri. But guess what? A week later, he seems to be rewarded. He's been put election in charge on Sachin Pilot's home turf in Rajasthan's Tonk district. BSP MP Danish Ali, who bore the barrage of those hate slurs in the recent Parliament special session, has openly questioned the BJP's ethics. Take a look.
BJP MP Ramesh Bidhuri hurled Islamophobic abuses at BSP MP Danish Ali inside the Parliament on the 22nd of September. The opposition had immediately petitioned Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla against the BJP MP, and the party issued a show cause notice to Bidhuri. Nearly a week later, Bidhuri faces no action from either the Speaker or the BJP. Instead, he's been given additional responsibilities. The BJP has appointed Bidhuri, who is from the Gujjar community, as the in charge of Tonk district for Rajasthan Assembly elections. Tonk is the stronghold of Congress leader Sachin Pilot and has a significant Gujjar population. It's also speculated that Sachin Pilot may contest from Tonk constituency. The BJP's decision hasn't gone down well with the opposition India alliance.
बीजेपी की महिमा परंपरा है उस आदमी को टोंक जैसे जिले में सिर्फ इसलिए ले गए कि बता दें कि हम परवाह नहीं करते हैं, चाहे संसद हो चाहे संसद के बाहर हो, अपने किसी आदमी के खिलाफ चाहे जितना बड़ा अपराध करे कोई कार्रवाई नहीं करे।
ये भाषा भारतीय जनता पार्टी की है, इन्हें आजीवन चुनाव लड़ने से पाबंदी लगानी चाहिए, ताउम्र उन पर बैन लगना चाहिए। ये हेट स्पीच है, हेट स्पीच पे कई लोगों की सदस्यता गई है, ऐसा कानून है।
Lashing out at the Narendra Modi government, BSP MP Danish Ali claimed the entire episode has exposed the BJP's true colors.
बाहर सड़कों पर नफरत का बाजार लगता था, उन्होंने संसद के अंदर नफरत का बाजार लगाया। मैं दावे से कह रहा हूं कि जिस जिले के वो प्रभारी बने हैं, अगर वो वहां बीजेपी उनकी ड्यूटी लगाएगी, जो जैसा कि आप बता रहे हैं, तो उसका रिजल्ट देखिएगा, वहां के लोग जवाब देंगे।
Meanwhile, BJP MPs who accused the BSP MP of making insulting comments against Prime Minister Narendra Modi have said that the Speaker has referred their petition to a committee to investigate.
Opposition parties, including Congress and TMC, have described latest appointment of BJP MP Ramesh Bidhuri as Assembly in charge of Tonk as a reward for abusing BSP MP Danish Ali and for spreading hate, while BJP has chosen not to get engaged in a verbal spat on this issue. Clearly, BJP is eyeing Gujjar community present in large numbers in Tonk, while the opposition is constantly asking, is this not akin to monetizing the hate? With Sanjay, this is Rahul Gautam reporting for India Today.
That's politics for you. Let's take a break at this point. When we return, I'm joined by a very special guest. P. Sainath will join me because tonight we want to pay tribute to the father of India's Green Revolution, M.S. Swaminathan, one of the greatest Indians of his times, the eminent agriculture scientist who transformed India into a country self-reliant in food production, is no more. P. Sainath joins me on the other side as we pay tribute to M.S. Swaminathan.
You are watching India Today, powered by Finest Be Sustainable Change, a BNP Group company.
India's longest serving editor, a pioneer in India's media landscape, pathbreaker and model for the entire profession, honored with IMA's Managing India Lifetime Achievement for contribution to media.
I believe journalism is a noble profession, for it carries a social responsibility.
Arun Puri has certainly made a huge impact on the lives of a whole lot of people in this country.
I've grown up reading India Today, so I can tell you that Arun's commitment to storytelling, his media excellence, has truly been inspiring for me.
His life's work is India's gold standard of journalism.
More troubling news coming in from Manipur, where violence has gripped the city of Imphal after the students' murder. 2 students, remember, were murdered after being abducted a few days ago. Tensions escalating once again. Protesters marching towards Chief Minister Biren Singh's house have clashed with the Manipur police. Those are the latest images that we are getting there of those clashes taking place. Manipur school students out on the street defying curfew orders and marching towards Chief Minister Biren Singh's residence. Tensions escalating there in the capital of Manipur. Okay, let's turn from there to another of our special focuses tonight. M.S. Swaminathan, Dr. Swaminathan, the father of India's Green Revolution, passed away tonight at the age of 98. Swaminathan led the Green Revolution that transformed India into a country self-reliant in food production. 60 years ago, when the country was dependent on food imports, he, along with his team, introduced high-yielding varieties of wheat and paddy in the country. And his 2006 report then became the basis for many reforms in the farming sector in recent times. In a career that spanned several decades, Dr. Swaminathan served India in several capacities, not just as an agriculture scientist, but as a policy person and indeed as a true nation builder. Joining me now is Magsaysay Award winner and someone who's tracked India's agriculture crisis over the years, P. Sainath. P. Sainath, locate for us what Dr. Swaminathan meant for several generations of Indians.
I think that with his passing, India has not, as you correctly said, just lost its foremost agricultural scientist, but it's lost one of its great thinkers and a very fine human being. I think You know, what Dr. Swaminathan did and which we have not honored in this millennium is the National Commission for Farmers' 5 reports dealing with the agrarian crisis as it had evolved at that point. Rajdeep, the first of those reports was submitted in December 2004. The fifth and final report in 2 volumes was submitted in October 2006. No one of them has merited a single hour's dedicated discussion in Parliament. Never. That was the UPA government then in power, which completely sidelined, though it was a government report, and the NCF and Dr. Swaminathan were appointed by government. Then comes 2014 and the NDA government, which actually benefited greatly from its promise to voters, to farmers, that it would very quickly implement the Swaminathan Commission report, especially what they thought was the main recommendation of the report, which is minimum support price equal to total cost of production plus 50%. As a matter of fact, within months of taking power, the government did exactly the opposite. It filed an affidavit in the Supreme Court saying this is not feasible, it would distort market prices. It was heartbreaking to a man who had put so much of his life, so many decades of distilled experience into what was surely the first and the only thing so far approaching a blueprint for Indian agriculture.
Let me take you back into that distilled experience. I mean, every tribute today will say father of the Green Revolution. He was, of course, part of a team. Dr. Subramaniam, then minister in the government, all of them worked together. But do you have a memory of him that today's generation could perhaps recall what made Dr. Swaminathan so special?
Are you asking me about the Green Revolution period or my experience of him?
I remember you telling me before the show when I asked you to join us about, for example, not just Green Revolution, but also what he did in terms of the Vidarbha farm crisis that you were that you reported on, and farm suicides. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Rajdeep, it is indelible, the memory. It was 2005. He was the NCF, National Commission for Farmers chairman. And though everybody calls those reports the Swaminathan report because of the indelible imprint of Professor Swaminathan on those 5 reports. In 2005, he was NCF chairman. He was, I think, at the very least, occupying a status of Union Minister of State, though I think in his case they made it a cabinet minister status. Very difficult to approach such people. But when we went appealing to him to visit Vidarbha, those of us journalists covering it at that time, I went on their behalf. He fixed it all in weeks and came very quickly after our appeal. He showed up for field visits. He was already in his close to mid 80s. And by the way, it led to, as you might remember, a big confrontation between the Vilasrao Deshmukh government and yours truly, because they wanted to give him a guided tour where, and keep him pinned down in meetings with bureaucrats and ministers and everything else. Whereas our idea was to take him to the households that had suffered suicides.
Is that in a sense, Sainath, something that stands out? Here is someone who in the 1960s works closely with the government of that time on the Green Revolution, and even in the 2000s is still around, still putting out reports, still responding to people like you when you refer to the Vidarbha farm crisis. Just the sheer longevity of spending a lifetime dedicated in a way to, as I said, nation building in some form or the other.
It's incredible. And I also simply admire the ability and quality of this person his ability to look back on his own understanding and say, these were mistakes I made. For instance, he was very clear that he had underestimated the kind of impact that the overuse of fertilizer and pesticides would have. He seriously regretted that. And he was not he was not shy about saying it. He was quite open about it. In the last years of his life, Rajdeep, he was increasingly critical of BT and GM, generally the genetically modified stuff. He had that, and third, he had the ability to listen and engage with people who were very critical of his opinions, and always with such great courtesy, politeness, and a willingness to learn. But I want to tell you what happened in Vidarbha. In